Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to the homestead. So we've built our passive solar greenhouse and we've documented that in several videos, but I thought it would be nice to have a video which overlooks the whole project really, and this is what this video is about. So in a time-lapse fashion, we'll go through every element, and we start with the groundworks, which were back in March. Winter came and went, came back again, and then went again a few times, and we were able to get on with these groundworks. Here I am removing some roots and from the border of the old greenhouse. So we had to remove the old greenhouse and then level out the land because we're on a slight slope here, prepare that, make it ready for building the new greenhouse, softening the soil, digging it over, and leveling it out. So here I'm starting to put in the poles in, the main struts for the greenhouse, which we're using timber, wood cut from our own forest, digging the holes with an auger and removing any stones, and then we're ready to put the poles in. The poles, we cut the ends off, level them up, and then to preserve them we're using the Japanese method of shosugi ban, which carbonizes the poles to stop the moisture and the rot getting in. Those poles were put up and then with a string line made sure that they're all level and plumb. This took obviously quite some time, but we got there in the end. And then once the back poles were complete, we could then get on and do the front poles, or the south side of the greenhouse, using a very similar method. We don't want to put make sure that the poles are completely static from the beginning, because we need to be able to put these plates on, which is what all the beams and the trusses will rest on. So they're double upped and screwed together, and then they're put on. Well, first of all we need to add wood preserve. Any final adjustments are made, and then we'll put some wood preserve on them. And then fix those plates, wall plates in place. And then after we've done that, we can then make sure all the poles backfill in all the holes and compress those. And then we're ready to put the trusses up. So first of all, I make a template from these bits, and that allows me then to cut all the right angles on all the other 8 trusses that are, well, 9 trusses in total. We build one as a model, a template, and then from that we can make all the others. All the angles were I made all these jigs so that I could get the angles right, and repeat that for the 9 times, well, one template and then 8 further times. It made the job a lot easier by having all these angles so that they could be replicated easy. And we loaded it up. On the deck I built the trusses, and again using a jig to make sure that everything was set at the right angle. Made all the trusses up. And then we painted all the trusses with the wood preserver, same colour, and then erected those wood trusses the next day. That all went well. As traditional, we put a blessing onto the final truss, as they seem to do here in Latvia. Then there's a case of putting the roof on, so get the purlins up. The roof, concrete fibre roof tiles we've already had because they were left over from a roofing project from our main house. And it's one of those things where you need to get the first one exactly right, and then all the others are fairly simple, and you just have to cut the corners off to line them up. That's why I'm cutting the corner off there with the angle grinder. And then the final tile, you just need to cut short to measure up. And the job's all done. So that's the roof on. Next, it was a case of getting the sides on. So I went with a choice of OSP for the sides, perhaps a little bit controversial. It came down to budget, really. I'm pretty happy that I could waterproof the board, no problem at all, which I did. Got this waterproof paint. And here I am cutting the first southern side panel with the doors, with the windows, which will be automated. Just checking out the fitting for the automation system, getting all the measurements and angles right. There, it's all working lovely, and we can see the actuator working there as it should. And then once that first one was made, it was just a case of then cutting out all the others to replicate that. And here I am fitting those after making them all. We actually ended up me only using 2 of the windows automated, and the other 2 I left closed, but I may adjust that in years to come. It seemed to have an adequate airflow. And that's there we are with the window working. And you can see how I finished it up. So now it's a case of getting the other sides on. So we worked on the back, then side, the north side first. These are the offcuts from the south side, so they went on the bottom as kick panels, and the idea was really if any panel is going to rot, it's going to be the kick panel, so they can be easily replaceable. Just need to notch out the poles so that we could then put a supporting rail in. Everything was sealed with all-weather sealant where any of the joins were. And there's the last panel going on with some adjustments. And here is the west side going on. A small injury here to my head, which requires some attention. There we go, bang. And then I just came back and got on with the rest of the west side. I'm using the track saw. Was a real game changer to cut all these panels. And now just put a supporting strut up for that west side. Of course, on the east side we're going to have a door, so it'll be slightly different. So here we are with the east side. There's the track saw in action. It works really well. Made my life a lot easier. Of course, that supporting beam on this side becomes a door frame. Then it's a case of just making the door frame and putting those panels that were cut out back on as a door. The door was a bit tight in the end. I need to adjust that next year. So I'm cutting out now the hole for the ventilation fan, which is a 12 volt car radiator fan, so it's perfectly okay being set on the outside. Put the door hinges on, and that's all done. Put a little cover over the ventilation fan just to stop any excess snow, really. Then there's a case of doing the glazing, which we chose to go with polycarbonate 6mm. I'm putting in extra cross braces there just to help the greenhouse cope with snow loading in the winter time. The polycarbonate came as 2 6-meter sheets, which need to be cut into 3-meter sections. Again, the track saw came in really useful for this, to get some really nice clean cuts. Then it was a case of fitting those sheets on, which took a little bit of practice and attention. Need to get them the right way up, of course, because the UV side needs to be upwards to stop the UV rays coming through. And then in the case of putting these end strips on as well, just stopping the excess moisture getting in, and those need to be taped up as well. So the last bit for the outside is to get the guttering on. I actually had the guttering coming towards the door end and decided later on to change it to go the other way. So we can still store the rainwater, but it was better because of the slope of the land. It was actually better to have it running away from the greenhouse. Had a few problems fitting it because of the PVC bending in the sun while it was stored in the DIY store, which caused a few problems, but nothing we couldn't overcome. Then it was a case of getting on with the beds because time had got on now. It was May and we really wanted to get some tomatoes. You know, they were really desperate to get into the ground, so I decided to stop the building work, get on and make the beds. We used a variety of mediums, so I decided to dig over the beds, which were extremely dry. We'd had a really dry summer this year. And then on top of that, I was going to layer with biochar, which was inoculated with some fermented fertilizer that I'd brewed over the winter. Lots of that to go on. And then we had various composts, some that we've saved from the previous years, and also some that I had made more recently. So here's some leaf mold compost that I'd made in the previous year. So we put a layer of that on. And then we also had a layer of chicken compost, which came out of the first year from where the chickens were. That's this stuff. So we put that on as well. And then after we did that, I had some old bags of compost lying about and peat, which whilst I don't particularly like using peat, it was lying around, so I might as well use it. And then we got actually put the tomato plants and pepper plants and other bits and pieces into the ground so they could get going really while I continued the work. It's Gita getting those in the ground. Then I could put the borders up for the beds so that we could build up the beds with more material in due course. Then it was a case of doubling back later on in summer and finishing off, getting the metals on for the ridge and the side cappings, and then getting the insulation in. We went with rock wall insulation, and we used this plastic sheet around to stop any moisture wicking up. And then this black is just ground cover weed membrane, which holds it in nicely. And it was a bit fiddly getting up in the roof because I was working against gravity, but I did get there in the end. I got most of the insulation in ready in time for winter. Just a case of now of finishing. It was really difficult to get the right piece for the ridge because it's a very unusual build, but as it turned out, the side cappings were exactly the right type of metal to be used. I hope you've enjoyed this series on the passive solar greenhouse. There'll be obviously lots more. Although the growing season is finished, I've still got a couple of videos to be done about did I succeed in ticking those boxes of what I set out at the beginning of the project in terms of those 8 key principles, and how much did it cost. So I need to work all that out and do a video on that, and you'll see that in due course. But I hope you've enjoyed this build series of videos, and I'm sorry this last one kind of got cut short, but that's life. And stick around, like I say, for other videos and the other stuff that we're doing over winter. But that's really kind of it for this year. Thank you for joining us on this series. Thank you for your comments and criticisms. They've been really helpful, actually. The whole thing's been a massive learning curve for me. So, and to have you guys on board as well, that's great. So I'm just going to say bye for now. And let's look forward to next year's growing season, which actually starts very soon. In a couple of weeks, I'll start planting my onions, sowing my onion seeds, and then we'll do it all again next year. What do you say? So bye for now. Thanks again, and see you in another video very soon.